Two men found dead inside their home. We're live from the scene in Scarborough this hour.
And a 60-year-old woman sexually assaulted in High Park last month. And tonight, a suspect has been arrested, and police have a message for other potential victims.
A disturbing video has been released after a woman was attacked in a violent swarming incident in Oshawa. We're going to tell you what the National Council of Canadian Muslims is saying about it.
Plus, some good news from public health. Measles cases are dropping in Ontario.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Lindsay Biscaya.
I'm Bakari Savage. A Toronto man's facing charges after a woman was allegedly dragged into a wooded area in High Park and sexually assaulted last month.
For the latest on this investigation, we are going to go live to CP24's crime analyst, Steve Ryan. And Steve, police have been working on this for about a month now to find the suspect.
Yeah, that's right, Lindsay. And it was some great work by the Toronto Police Sex Crimes Unit to identify this suspect and take him into custody, charging him with a variety of very serious criminal offenses. So any time you have a random act of violence occurring in any community, it has a tendency to affect the quality of life of not only that community, but also neighboring communities as well, because the collective belief and thinking often is if it's happening anywhere, it's happening everywhere. And that's something that certainly is not lost on law enforcement when they investigate such rare occurrences like this, when you have allegations of a sexual assault. So Toronto Police tell us that it was just June the 4th, a month tomorrow, when a woman in her 60s, I'm told she was 62 years old, was walking through the park just before 11 o'clock at night when she was approached from behind, dragged into a wooded area, and sexually assaulted. We're showing you the B-roll of the scene right now. We did spend quite an amount of time here back on June the 4th when this first happened. So the Toronto Police have worked around the clock, and we heard today at a press conference that they have now identified a suspect, a 35-year-old man who is now an accused, and that accused is facing a variety of very serious criminal charges. Before we go to the clip, we're showing you his picture, and that's because police believe that there may be other victims out there. So if you recognize this man and you've had any sort of negative interaction with him, the police are encouraging you to give them a call. Here's more from the detective in charge of this investigation, who this accused is.
Yesterday, following a thorough investigation by the Toronto Police Service Sex Crimes Unit, we arrested Courtney Henry, age 35, of Toronto. He's been charged with the following offenses: overcome resistance by choking, sexual assault caused bodily harm, uttering threats, forcible confinement, robbery, failed to comply with probation, and unlawfully possessing a Schedule I substance.
So these are just allegations, not been proven in court beyond a reasonable doubt, but nonetheless, they are very, very serious. Some of the most serious charges on the books that you heard the detective read out. And one of the charges also laid was a breach of probation. That comes when you're convicted of a criminal offense. And the cops said today that this man was convicted in the past. He was on a period of probation. One of those conditions always is keep the peace and be of good behavior. Clearly, with these allegations, that idea is out the window. And this is why this added charge was laid as well. Great work again by the Toronto Police getting this guy off the streets.
Yeah, and as you say, Steve, police will be in the area patrolling for the foreseeable future. Pretty frightening stuff. Okay, that's CP24's Steve Ryan reporting live for us. Thanks, Steve. Well, police are investigating after two men were found dead in a home in Scarborough.
CP24's Sija Liu joins us live from the scene with the latest. Sija.
Bakari, Lindsay, I'm here on Chelwood Road, which is in the southeast corner of Birchmount and Eglinton. Police are still on scene of a home where they found two men dead inside yesterday night. It was around 6:30 when they were called to this home. Police are still on the scene at this moment, but not a lot of information right now on the cause of death. We are getting an update on their ages. Police told us it was a 62 and 67-year-old men who were found dead in the home. Unclear of what their relationship is, but there is no threat to public safety at this time. But we have been speaking to some neighbors who are painting a clearer picture for us. They say it was a friendly man called David who lived in this home with his brother and his mother, who recently passed away. Here's more from police on the latest from the investigation.
I can tell you that on July 2nd at approximately 6:30 p.m., officers attended the address in Birchmount Road and Chelwood Road area for a well-being check. Officers did locate 2 deceased persons inside the home, which was a male 62 years of age and another male 67 years of age. The investigation right now is being led by our homicide and missing persons unit. I can tell you that the 2 males did live in that residence together, but I can't speak to their relationship at this time.
And neighbors tell us David, the man who lived here, was a very friendly neighbor. He took a lot of pride in caring for his yard. You see his yard now, which is still relatively well kept, and they say this is the worst they ever seen in years. They also say this family has lived here for over 30 years. They would help people mow their lawns and sell items and fix up items for a very cheap price, really describing them as the perfect friendly neighbor. So they are very sad to hear this news and say this neighborhood won't feel the same without them. Here's more from one neighbor we spoke to.
It's really, really heartbreaking. Whenever you walked by, it was always good morning, how are you? If it was the summertime, you might be sitting there with a nice cold beer, relaxing in the shade. But just a wonderful family, and we're going to miss them dearly.
And an autopsy is underway right now to determine the exact cause of death, but still a lot of things police are trying to figure out as to what the relationship is between the 2 men who were found dead in the home, the moments that led up to their death. But we're hoping to get an update from police as they continue this investigation. I'll send it back to you.
Okay, reporting live from the scene in Scarborough, CP24, Sija Lou. Sija, thank you. Well, skateboarders in hospital after being hit by a vehicle. This is in the Christie Street and Davenport Road area. It happened this afternoon.
Yeah, the crash happened just after 2:30. Police say the skateboarder is a man in his 30s, and he suffered serious injuries. The driver involved remained at the scene. At this point, there's no word on what led to the crash or if any charges will be laid.
And a man's in hospital after being hit by a truck while riding a motorcycle in Etobicoke.
That crash happened at North Queen Street and Atomic Avenue around 3:15 this afternoon. Police say the motorcyclist is a man in his 50s, and he was taken to hospital in serious condition. The driver of the truck remained at the scene.
Well, it's 5:07. Let's check on the evening commute with CP24's traffic specialist, Adjoa Nsiaya-Bois. Adj, any areas that people need to avoid?
A few, Bakari. I'm watching issues. I don't want to laugh at the collisions, but if you are making your way out, it is rush hour. To be expected, the delays, but not necessarily all these problems. So we'll start with these issues happening on the QEW Niagara bound. It's the HOV as well as that left lane blocked following this collision. So the drive into Burlington really backed up now. The delays now extend from third line. Drivers, some of them doing the smart thing, bailing off the highway. They're using the service routes heading north to Dundas or maybe even south and making their way to about the lakeshore to bypass this problem. Do have a bit of good news. Still a little bit slow on the northbound 427. We had problems in the express north of the QE Gardner. It was a collision. It was the 2 center lanes that were occupied, and still a busy go on the 401 across the top of the city, but slowly starting to improve. Not an improving situation on the Don Valley Parkway southbound, where we have northbound actually, where we have problems approaching Eglinton. It is a collision that does have the right lane occupied. And I heard you guys both talking about the serious problems that are happening in the Etobicoke area. North Queen remains closed at Atomic, which is east of the East Mall, following that collision involving a motorcyclist as well. The other collision involving a skateboarder still has Davenport and Christie off limits. I'll send it back to you both.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Well, fire crews are dealing with a large fire at a scrap yard in York Region today.
Okay, this was the scene from our Chopper 24. This is at the yard in the area of Woodbine and Stovall Road a little after 3. There's no report of any injuries, but several roads around the yard, they've been closed to traffic. So it might be a good idea to avoid that area for the next little while.
And one person has been found dead after a pair of encampment fires in the Don River Valley.
Emergency crews were called to the scene. This is behind a building on Credit Union Drive near Eglinton and the DVP. It was around 4:30 this morning. Toronto paramedics say that one person was pronounced dead on the scene. Fire Chief Jim Jessup talked to us from the scene earlier today.
There are a number of other structures down in the valley right now that were unimpacted by the fire. The origin, cause, and circumstances of this fire will be investigated by the Toronto Fire Service, Office of the Fire Marshal, and the Toronto Police Service. I've also been in touch with the General Manager of Toronto Shelter and Support Services so that they are aware of the number of individuals and structures down in this valley. Certainly on behalf of the over 3,000 women and men of the Toronto Fire Service, I want to offer my deepest condolences to those impacted by this horrible fire this morning.
Now, Jessup says firefighters did face challenging conditions as there were several propane tanks in the encampment as well.
Well, Mayor Chow's office did release a statement offering condolences to the victim's family and friends, saying, quote, "This tragic incident underscores the urgent need to bring people indoors into shelters and affordable housing. Since January 1st, 2025, the city's Streets to Homes program, it's referred 481 people into shelters. Well, we're also investing in long-term solutions by moving forward with building 6 new shelters. An update on this is going to be brought before council this month. Ultimately, everyone needs a safe place to call home. Mayor Chow has focused on strengthening eviction prevention programs and getting shovels in the ground on thousands of affordable homes across Toronto.
A warning about our next story, as it does contain some disturbing video that may be upsetting to some of you. A woman was injured in a swarming attack at a restaurant in Oshawa.
Okay, here's the video. This was released by the National Council of Canadian Muslims. It appears to show a person being attacked by a group of teenagers early yesterday. The NCCM says the victim had her hijab torn off and her head stomped on. Durham police say that the youths created a disturbance in the restaurant, and when the victim tried to prevent one of them from stealing, she was assaulted.
In the early hours of Tuesday, July 2nd, at about 1 a.m., a Muslim woman working in a local business here in Oshawa saw a number of individuals trying to commit theft inside the restaurant. She then confronted the group of a dozen or so people, including teenagers. This led the group to commence a vicious attack on her. She ended up on the ground with her hijab pulled off, badly beaten, and her head stomped on. We understand that Durham police is now investigating this as a possible hate-motivated attack.
And the COO of the National Council of Canadian Muslims reacted to the attack, saying no one should be afraid in their community.
Quite frankly, as I stand here today addressing you all, my heart sits in my stomach. We got this call about this incident early yesterday morning. The details of what happened doesn't just make me sad, it makes me angry. How many of these incidents do we have to live through as a community? The sister who survived the latest attack was beaten by 10 people. 10.
Back in March, a woman was charged with attacking a Muslim woman at the Ajax Public Library, trying to remove her hijab and attempting to set it on fire.
Well, signal work will have a section of TTC Subway Line 2 shut down this weekend.
It'll be closed from Kipling to Jane Station Saturday and Sunday, so passengers, they will be able to jump on shuttle buses to get along that part of the line. Wheel-Trans service will not be affected.
Right now it's 5:13, 25 degrees outside. This is Live at 5.
Measles cases continue to drop in Ontario. We're going to go over the latest numbers just ahead. Measles cases continued to drop in the province.
That's right. A Public Health Ontario report shows 12 new cases in the province this week. That is down from 33 last week and 96 the week before that. 2 more infections were confirmed in the northern part of the region, which had been showing the biggest increase for several weeks now. Southern Ontario, which was the hardest hit by the outbreak for months, reported 4 new cases. Ontario has had a total of 2,223 measles cases since an outbreak linked to travel in New Brunswick began last October. And a Montreal woman already charged with abandoning her toddler last month is facing a more serious charge.
The 34-year-old, who can no longer be named to protect the identity of her 3-year-old daughter, was arrested June 16th after reporting the child missing. After an extensive search, the girl was found alive 2 days later on the side of a highway. This is in Ontario, which was about 150 kilometers from home. And the mother's now charged with criminal negligence, causing bodily harm, and failing to provide the necessaries of life. Well, Canada is seeing an increase in overall exports for the first time in 4 months.
New data from Stats Canada shows a 1.1% increase that's fueled by exports of metal and other mineral products. There was also an uptick in consumer goods and meats. When the U.S. is taken out of the equation, exports are up 5.7%. That's a record high. Meanwhile, imports saw a third consecutive month of decline, down 1.6% in May. And when it comes to trade with the U.S., both exports and imports continue to fall. Well, Mounties in BC say a wildfire that prompted evacuation orders and alerts near the village of Lytton was sparked by an RCMP vehicle.
Yeah, the fire was discovered Tuesday, and it now covers about 130 hectares. In a statement out today, police say the right side wheel came off of an RCMP trailer, accidentally sparking the fire in a grass ditch. The Mounties say an officer did stop to try to fight the flames with a fire extinguisher, but the conditions were not favorable, and they were not able to contain it. Well, British Columbia has begun accepting applications for its publicly funded in vitro fertilization program.
Provincial Health Minister Josie Osborne says the money is expected to pay for between 1,100 and 4,500 treatments this fiscal year. The IVF program will help to reduce the financial burden that it could have on families and allow people an easier path to parenthood. The plans were announced as part of last year's budget, with the province setting aside $68 million over 2 years, beginning in 2025. And a new study finds more than half of travelers from Britain, Germany, and France are considering a trip to Ontario in the next 2 years, with our city high on the agenda.
And the poll by Context Research Group on behalf of Destination Ontario and Destination Toronto finds of those planning to visit, most plan to come to Toronto. 87% say Canada is appealing enough to visit on its own and not just part of a trip to North America. And 62% agreed that the current political climate in the U.S. makes them less likely to want to travel there. 32% expressed interest in coming for the FIFA World Cup, with UK respondents being the most likely at 41%. It's 5:18, 25 degrees. This is Live at 5.
The world of professional soccer, is in mourning today after the death of one Liverpool FC's top players and his brother in a car crash. More on that just ahead. Welcome back. Liverpool FC soccer player Diogo Jota and his brother have been killed in a car accident in Spain.
28-year-old Jota and 25-year-old Andre Silva, they were both professional Portuguese soccer players. Jota also played for Portugal's national team. Silva played with Portuguese club Penafiel in the lower divisions. Jota married his longtime partner just last month. He leaves behind 3 children.
Authorities say the brothers were killed when their Lamborghini veered off the road and burst into flames near the city of Zamora. Police believe a tire burst while the vehicle was passing another car. At this point, no other vehicles were involved in the crash.
Our British Prime Minister Keir Starmer reacting to the tragic accident today.
Jota, because this is devastating news, and I'm sure I speak for everyone in saying our first thoughts are going to be with his family and his friends in particular. But there are millions of Liverpool fans, but also football fans, non-fans, who will also be shocked by this. I think Liverpool Football Club have just put a statement out, as I understand it. But it is devastating, and it is really important that we bear in mind just how difficult a period this will be for his friends and for his family.
Officials aren't saying who was driving at the time of the crash, but they do say it's being investigated as a possible speeding incident. Well, prolific character actor Michael Madsen has died.
Known for his roles in Reservoir Dogs, Kill Bill Volume 2, Thelma and Louise, and Wyatt Earp, Madsen appeared in hundreds of movies and TV shows over his 40-year career. Today, his manager announced that he died this morning of cardiac arrest. Michael Madsen was 67 years old. And film critic Richard Krause says Madsen was able to play a wide variety of roles convincingly.
I'm not sure how he prepared for each of his roles. I know that one particular story sort of suggests to me that he was someone who was part method, part, character actor. But I love that he could do a role like that, which is indelible. I mean, people remember the menace of that scene, and then could go on to appear in Free Willy, which was as family-friendly a film as you could possibly get.
Michael Madsen was 67 years old. It's 5:23, 25 degrees. This is Live at 5.
We're hearing from Masai Ujiri for the first time since his departure from the Toronto Raptors. He appeared on an American morning show, Good Morning America. We're going to tell you what he had to say about this city after the break.
The owners, everybody they've been incredible. to me and Toronto. I love you, Toronto. I love you, Toronto. And
former Raptors president Masai Ujiri made his first media appearance today since parting ways with the franchise last week. Speaking on Good Morning America, Ujiri called his tenure in Toronto 12 incredible years.
I'm so grateful and thankful for the opportunity. Fans, my family, colleagues, coaches, players, the owners, everybody they've been incredible to me and Toronto. I love you, Toronto. I love you, Toronto, and it's a great journey in my life, and it's time, and great things come to an end.
Well, under Ujiri, the Raptors won the NBA championship in 2019. Ujiri also spoke today about Giants of Africa. That's the nonprofit organization that he co-founded in 2003. Well, the Blue Jays will go for a sweep against the Yankees tonight.
Run homer in the first. He's also flied out twice. And he lifts this one to right center. It is gone!
Last night marked the fourth win in a row for the Jays, who were up 8-0 heading into the third inning. However, New York would storm back to tie things in the eighth inning. Toronto scored twice to fend off the Yankees and would take this one 11-9. And with that win, the Jays are now tied with the Yankees atop the American League East. Tonight's game gets underway at 7:07, and Chris Bassett gets the ball for Toronto. And Quebec's language watchdog has changed its tune on whether it's okay to use the word go to cheer on sports teams. The flip-flop comes after the government told Montreal's transit agency to stop using the phrase "Go Habs Go" on its city buses. The agency replaced the message with "Allez, Canadiens, allez." After public outcry about the change, Quebec's French language minister has ruled that the expression "Go Habs Go" is part of Quebec culture, and any future complaints about it will be dismissed.
It's 5:27, 25 degrees. This is Live at 5.
A man has been arrested in connection with a sexual assault in High Park. We've got more on that just ahead. We are live at the scene in Scarborough tonight, where two men were found dead inside their home last night. We got the latest on that investigation coming up.
And a suspect has been arrested after a lengthy investigation into a sexual assault in High Park last month. And now police are concerned there may be more victims.
Plus, a disturbing video has been released after a woman was attacked in a violent swarming incident in Oshawa. We'll tell you what the National Council of Canadian Muslims is saying about it.
And some good news from public health. Measles cases are dropping in Ontario.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Lindsay Biscaya. Welcome to Live at 5. A Toronto man is facing charges after a woman was allegedly dragged into a wooded area in High Park and sexually assaulted last month.
And for the latest in this investigation, let's go live to CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan, who joins us from High Park. Steve.
Yeah, Bakari, Lindsay, it was just a month to the day tomorrow since these allegations were first made public by the Toronto Police. In fact, we covered this story when it happened. And back on the 4th of June, Toronto Police told us that a woman who was 62 years old, who is 62 years old, was walking through the park just before 11 o'clock at night when she was approached from behind by, at the time, we were told was an unknown suspect. We're showing you a B-roll of the crime scene right now. We now know that this suspect, the police believe, is a 35-year-old man. And police accuse this 35-year-old man of dragging this woman into a wooded area. We're showing you his picture as well. And the reason we're showing you his picture is because the police believe that there may be more victims out there, and they are encouraging those who believe that they may have been victimized to give them a call. So after this man is alleged to have dragged this 62-year-old woman into a wooded area, he sexually assaulted her for some time before she was able to make good her escape. So for a month, the police have been looking for the proverbial needle in a haystack here in High Park. But today, with some very good detective work, police announced that they have arrested this man, 35 years old, and charged him with a variety of criminal offenses, including a sexual assault caused bodily harm. Here is more from the superintendent from 11 Division, which happens to be the division where High Park is located. He spoke earlier on today about this occurrence, and here's what he said. Let's listen.
This type of crime is very rare. Hyde Park is a safe park. Our officers have taken proactive measures to police the park both after the incident and responded quickly when the incident did happen. But as for Hyde Park itself, it's a very rare occurrence, and this type of sexual assault is very rare in this park.
So he's charged with sexual assault, caused bodily harm, choking, forcible confinement, robbery. He's also accused of having a controlled substance on him at the time, and he was also charged with breaching probation. Police said to us earlier today at this press conference that this man was convicted of criminal behavior in the past, and as a result, he's on probation. And as a result of breaching that probation, which often has an expectation that the person be of law-abiding and keep the peace and be of good behavior, clearly with these allegations, that idea is out the window. So a lot of very serious charges laid here. And again, some very good work by the Toronto Police to identify this man and now have him in custody. I'll send it back to you guys.
Okay, CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan live from Hyde Park. Steve, thank you. And police are investigating after 2 men were found dead in a home in Scarborough.
CP24's Sija Liu joins us live from the scene with the latest. And Sija, at this point, not many details being released from police.
That's right, Lindsay Bakari. What we're getting right now is that it is a 62 and 67-year-old men who were found dead inside this home. This is on Chelwood Road, which is the southeast corner of Birchmount and Eglinton. Police were called here around 6:30 last night when they found the 2 men dead inside. They say they don't know the relationship between the two, but they both lived at this home. They also say autopsies are underway, but that is all they can say right now. Nothing on what may have caused their death. But we have been speaking to neighbors who are giving us a better idea of the people who lived inside this home. They say it was a kind man called David, a very friendly neighbor. He lived here with his brother, along with his mother, who passed away a couple weeks ago. They say since the death of the mother, that this family has been extremely sad. They say their yard is usually well kept, but since the passing of that mother, it's kind of outgrown a little bit. But here's more from police on the latest on the investigation.
At this time, the investigators are awaiting the autopsy report from the coroner's office. And until that time, we really don't have any further information that we can share about the investigation. However, I can tell you that there is no threat to public safety in regards to this.
And what you see there is a small memorial that is growing outside the home, a teddy bear and some flowers. And neighbors are saying they are just so shocked by the news because they know David, one of the guys living at the home, as a man who was very friendly. He was the type to send out Christmas cards, help you cut your lawn. He's always sitting outside saying hello to all the neighbors. So they were certainly distraught when they heard the news today and say the community won't feel the same without him. Here's more from some of the neighbors on their reaction to this news.
The neighbors that have been here for a long time are very close-knit, yes. Myself, these guys, who was the neighbors around the street that have been here 30 years or longer, we're very close-knit, absolutely. Almost like a family. If I'm running for the bus or how you doing, I'm doing good, see you on the way back, or type of thing. And yes, yeah, it's a great neighborhood. And it's very sad that something like this has had to happen, and we're all going to feel the impact from it.
And those neighbors are hoping for some answers, too, as what happened at this home of the friendly neighbors they remember. But all we know right now is that a 62-year-old man and a 67-year-old man, both who lived at this home, were found dead yesterday evening. But still a lot of questions as to what exactly happened. Lindsay, Bakari?
Absolutely. Okay, that's CP24's Sija Liu reporting live from the scene. Thanks, Sija. Well, a man hit by a truck while riding a motorcycle in Etobicoke this afternoon has died.
The crash happened at North Queen Street and Atomic Avenue right around 3:15 this afternoon. And police say the motorcyclist was a man in his 50s. The driver of the truck did stay at the scene. Well, a skateboarder's in hospital after being hit by a vehicle in the Christie Street and Davenport Road area that happened this afternoon.
Yeah, that collision happened just after 2:30. Police say the skateboarder is a man in his 30s and he suffered serious injuries. The driver involved remained at the scene. At this point, there's no word on what led to the crash or if any charges will be laid. Okay, 5:37 now. We are going to take a look at the evening commute with our traffic specialist, Adjoa. Adjoa, how's it looking out there?
You know what? Things are getting a little bit better, Lindsay. We had some problems which are really impacting the drive this hour on the QEW into Burlington. So Niagara and QEW, this was just on the approach to Walker's line. It was a long-standing collision. HOV and left lane were blocked, but problems have cleared and that backlog has quickly dissipated. So that's some good news for drivers, at least, that are heading into Burlington. Not really the case for the drivers on the 401. Always rush hour lasts pretty much forever on the 401. Very busy across the top of the city. Continue slow further east as you head in towards Durham, but at least fingers crossed. No live lane issues. 410 northbound still crawling as you make your way in towards Brampton from Steeles all the way up to Sandalwood. And we are dealing with a brand new collision just coming into the traffic desk. Ninth line in Mississauga closed north of the 403 following a serious collision. Also, a lot of collisions in the downtown core, and I've been mentioning them for a better part of the afternoon. A fatal collision investigation on North Queen has it closed at Atomic, which is east of the East Mall, and as well a collision involving a skateboarder happened earlier this afternoon. So still getting word from Toronto Police that the intersection of Christie and Davenport is still closed. I'll send it back to you both.
All right, thanks, Ad.
You're welcome.
Signal Work is going to have a section of TTC subway line 2 shut down this weekend.
It'll be closed from Kipling to Jane Street, both Saturday and Sunday. Passengers will be able to jump on a shuttle bus instead to get along that part of the line, and Wheel-Trans service is not affected. One person has been found dead after a pair of encampment fires in the Don River Valley.
Emergency crews were called to the scene behind a building on Credit Union Drive. This is near Eglinton and the DVP. That was right around 4:30 this morning. Toronto paramedics say that one person was pronounced dead on the scene. Fire Chief Jim Jessup talked to us from the scene earlier today.
Upon arrival, the first truck encountered a significant fire. Flames reported to be 30 to 40 feet in the air. I have been down into the area, and certainly there is a number of trees that clearly confirm that. Heavily involved structure fire, an encampment down in the valley here. Additional crews were immediately called given the size of the fire, as well as given the number of propane tanks and other compressed gas cylinders that were exploding, and that we've documented down in the scene.
And now Jessup says firefighters faced challenging conditions as there were several propane tanks in the encampment. And Mayor Chow's office has released a statement offering condolences to the victim's family and friends. It reads, "This tragic incident underscores the urgent need to bring people indoors into shelters and affordable housing. Since January 1st, 2025, the city's Streets to Homes program has referred 481 people into shelters. We're also investing in long-term solutions by moving forward with building 6 new shelters. An update on this will be before council this month. Ultimately, everyone needs a safe place to call home." Mayor Chow has focused on strengthening eviction prevention programs and getting shovels in the ground on thousands of affordable homes across Toronto.
A warning about our next story because it contains disturbing video that may be upsetting to some viewers. A woman was injured in a swarming attack at a restaurant in Oshawa.
This video was released by the National Council of Canadian Muslims. It appears to show a person being attacked by a group of teens early yesterday. The NCCM says the victim had her hijab torn off and her head stomped on. Durham police say the youths created a disturbance in the restaurant, and when the victim tried to prevent one of them from stealing, she was assaulted.
We are glad to see that she has survived the attack, though with some serious injuries. She has since been treated, but must now begin a difficult road to recover from the trauma of the attack. Needless to say, we are deeply disgusted as a community and as Canadians by this cowardly attack. Unfortunately, despite the vicious nature of what happened, we can no longer say that we are surprised.
Well, the COO of the National Council of Canadian Muslims reacted to the attack, saying that no one should be afraid in their community.
4 years ago, after the killing of our London family, we called for more action. Yet instead of solutions, we are now seeing a large spike in incidents, including now with teenagers. This is what breaks our hearts. It's hard to describe what our community is feeling. I will just say, it's time for action. It's time for the words to become actions now.
Now, back in March, a woman was charged with attacking a Muslim woman at the Ajax Public Library, trying to remove her hijab and attempting to set it on fire. A man is facing charges after allegedly following a woman to her home in the West End, and police believe there may be more victims.
Yeah, 46-year-old Trevor Edwards is charged with criminal harassment. This is what also police is alleging, that Edwards followed a woman home in the St. Clair Avenue West and Vaughan Road area on 3 separate occasions between August and October of 2024. So investigators allege that on one occasion he attempted to speak to the woman, while on another he was able to enter her apartment building. And police are releasing Edwards' photo because they believe there may be more victims. And police are searching for a man wanted on a Canada-wide warrant who is known to frequent the GTA.
The repeat offender parole enforcement squad is looking for 30-year-old Andrew Smith, pictured here. He's wanted for breaching his statutory release. He is described as 5'10", 130 pounds, and has several tattoos, including the word recovery on his right forearm and Toronto Maple Leafs on his right hand. Police say Smith is currently serving a sentence for break and enter and assault. Anyone with any information is now being asked to call police or Crime Stoppers. It's 5:43, 25 degrees. This is Live at 5.
A Montreal woman already charged with abandoning her toddler last month is now facing a more serious charge. We're going to have the latest on the case just ahead. Measles cases continue to drop in Ontario.
A Public Health Ontario report shows 12 new cases in the province this week. That's down from 33 last week and 96 the week before that. 2 more infections were confirmed in the northern part of the region, which has been showing the biggest increase for several weeks. Southern Ontario, which was the hardest hit by the outbreak for months, reported 4 new cases. Ontario has a total of 2,223 measles cases since an outbreak linked to travel in New Brunswick began last October. And a Montreal woman already charged with abandoning her toddler last month is facing a more serious charge now.
Yeah, the 34-year-old, who can no longer be named to protect the identity of the 3-year-old daughter, was arrested June 16th after reporting the child missing. After an extensive search, the girl was found alive 2 days later on the side of a highway in Ontario, about 150 kilometers from home. The mother is now also charged with criminal negligence, causing bodily harm, and failing to provide the necessaries of life. And Canada is seeing an increase in overall exports for the first time in 4 months.
New data from Statistics Canada shows a 1.1% increase fueled by exports of metal and other mineral products. There was also an uptick in consumer goods and meats. When the U.S. is taken out of the equation, exports are up 5.7%. That's a record high. Meanwhile, imports saw a 3rd consecutive month of decline, down 1.6% in May. When it comes to trade with the U.S., both exports and imports continue to fall. Mounties in BC say a wildfire that prompted evacuation orders and alerts near the village of Lytton was sparked by an RCMP vehicle.
The fire was discovered Tuesday, and it now covers about 130 hectares. In a statement out today, police say that the right side wheel came off of an RCMP trailer, accidentally sparking the fire in a grass ditch. Well, Mounties say an officer did stop to fight the flames by the fire extinguisher, but the conditions were not favorable, and they were not able to contain it. And British Columbia has begun accepting applications for its publicly funded in vitro fertilization program.
Provincial Health Minister Josie Osborne says the money is expected to pay for between 1,100 and 4,500 treatments this fiscal year. The IVF program will help to reduce the financial burden that it could have on families and allow people an easier path to parenthood. The plans were announced as part of last year's budget, with the province setting aside $68 million over 2 years beginning in 2025. It's 5:48 right now, 25 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, new numbers show that more European travelers are interested in visiting us. We're going to have more on the findings just ahead.
A new study finds more than half of travelers from Britain, Germany, and France are considering a trip to Ontario in the next 2 years, with this city, Toronto, high on the agenda. Now, the poll was conducted by Context Research Group on behalf of Destination Ontario and Destination Toronto.
And for more of this, we're joined by Alex Masnick, founding partner of Context Research Group. Alex, good evening. Thanks a lot for joining us. Okay, so let's go over these findings. What stood out to you?
Thanks for having me on. Pleasure to be on. And I mean, what we found is that Canada and Ontario specifically are very well positioned in the minds of travelers in UK, Germany, and France. There's strong awareness and positive sentiment towards Canada, Ontario, and Toronto as leisure travel destinations. And very interestingly, as far as appeal goes, we actually surpassed destinations like Australia, Japan, and believe it or not, United States.
It is so interesting to hear that. And when you're talking about the United States, your study delved into some of the findings when it comes to the political climate right now in the U.S. and how that might have affected some of these numbers. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the key components that we wanted to understand is whether Europeans see Canada and U.S. as two distinct destinations. Of course, we understand that Europeans are kind of famously good at geography, and the question wasn't around that, but really it's whether these are seen as joint destinations. So if you're going to the U.S., you're going to come to Canada. But if you're not going to the U.S., are you still going to come to Canada? And what we found is really positive for us, actually, and that Canada and Ontario are worth visiting on their own, and they offer something different from the U.S. So kind of a unique, distinct experience, which is great news for us.
Hey, Alex, do you think this sort of surge is short-lived, or do you think there's a little bit more to it?
It's a great question, and it's so hard to predict the future. Right now, we really are focusing on understanding the moment, and the moment is really interesting. There's lots of things hanging in the balance, right? There's the affordability issues, there's tariff pressures, and what we really are seeing is that the demand for travel, it's real, but not everyone feels confident enough to act on it yet, right? So what we want to do, really what's worth focusing on right now is its conversion into bookings, right? So we need to meet travelers where they're at, meaning offering sort of value, flexibility, and travel experiences that feel worth it and are attainable.
Interesting. When it comes to some big events that might be held in Toronto, whether it's this year or next year, like the FIFA Cup, did that have any sway in people wanting to come here?
Yeah, FIFA, of course, is a huge opportunity for Toronto. And from our data, we know that lots of people, especially in the European market, are going to follow it, right? 75% are saying that they're going to follow the tournament. 48% say that they're aware that Toronto is a host city. And 32% are saying that they're considering a visit to Toronto because of FIFA. We're still a year out, so I'm expecting these numbers are going to increase, especially because, of course, FIFA is going to be promoted and Toronto is going to be promoted as a host city.
Okay, Alex, I have to ask you about this. It seems like maybe now people from Europe coming here are looking at Toronto as a standalone destination instead of saying, I'm going to go to North America and go to Toronto and New York.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're seeing, right? And something I wanted to flag here is that when we say that Ontario and Toronto are distinct destinations, it's not sort of an opposition to the U.S. It's not in contrast, right? It's really just, it's a destination in its own right, with its own unique experiences and its own kind of branding, right? It's inclusive, it's friendly, it's safe. That's why people want to come here.
So interesting. Alex Mazanik, founding partner of Context Research Group. Really appreciate your time tonight. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
It's 5:55 right now, 25 degrees. This is Live at 5.
A Canadian music legend, Joni Mitchell, has added another honor to her impressive resume. We're going to tell you all about it after the break.
Living is easy.
Canadian music legend Joni Mitchell has added another honor to her impressive resume.
Summertime and living is easy.
The Royal Canadian Geographical Society awarded Mitchell a gold medal for her cultural contributions. Now, the Society says Mitchell's music has painted emotional landscapes for generations, and her work speaks to the soul of Canada. Well, the very first Birkin bag designed for and worn by Jane Birkin is ready to go to the auction block.
Lindsay, get your credit card ready.
I know.
On display at Sotheby's in Paris, it's a restored version of a bag that was well loved by Birkin for 9 years. Experts estimate that it could sell for as much as $1 million. The auction house says its current record for a handbag is an Hermes Kelly with crocodile leather and diamond hardware. That one sold for $500,000. And that was in 2023. So
I think I have that kind of money, so maybe I don't need to get my credit card ready.
like, I can write you a check, but don't cash it yet.
Okay. I promise. I promise. Thanks, Bakari. Right now it's 5:59, 25 degrees. This is Toronto's breaking news, CP24.
Thank you for watching. CTV News is next.
easy.